COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack. Hey, coronavirus, I want my life back.
Have you taken your breath today? Have you taken your breath today? That's how we should begin every show, is this is a chance to just stop, okay? So this is what we're doing. We're just stopping. We're taking our breath, and we are... Did you notice I'm sort of slowly changing the name to Kevin's Isolators? Because coping with isolation just seems so dry. So we're slowly changing the name to that. Today, a very, very important topic. Kids' Help Phone, which we all know and appreciate and respect, have seen their workload, the number of calls for service they get, increase between 300 to 400%. So obviously, COVID and COVID-19 isolation is taking its toll on our kids. But what about your kid? We all think kids are very resilient, and for the most part, they are very resilient. But are they asking for help? Do you know what the signs are for that? What kind of help are you ready to give them, or at least direct them into the right way? I think the idea of tonight's show is let's listen to our kids and talk to our kids before they feel the need to have to call someone like Kids Help Phone. And it's incredible the service is there. But let's recognize it together and come up with some solutions. That's what this show is about. It's about solutions, not about the problems. It's about the solutions. And I am very happy to have a very important person. Should we call you a very important person to Kids Help Phone? He's the big cheese. The one of the guys. This is Jason Carey. He's a counseling manager for Kids Help Phone. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Frank.
How are you doing?
Sorry.
It's okay. Lots of people call me Frank. Lots of people call me Frank. Call me anything. As my dad said, call me anything, but just don't call me late for supper.
It's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, thank you very much for the work that Kids Help Phone does. It is such an incredible and valuable service, and sadly, you get busier and busier with every passing year.
We do, and with the pandemic, we've certainly noticed a huge increase in our contacts, both to our counseling department as well as to our texting services.
What's going on? Why what are the kids worried about, and why do they need to turn to Kids Help Phone?
Well, we're hearing a lot of different things from young people as well as young adults. And so we're hearing a lot of young people phoning in and talking about their anxiety, their stress. Isolation does a lot of things to a person after a while. And so we're dealing with individuals who are dealing with perhaps exacerbated eating issues, eating disorders, anxiety disorders, isolation, body image, grief issues, things like that. So if they're dealing with something before that, the isolation factor has tended to exacerbate a lot of things for them.
There are some experts who are worried that some kids who may not be as resilient could possibly experience post-traumatic stress disorder when isolation is over.
It is possible, because certainly, as you know, with media, we're inundated with the numbers that are changing day in and day out of how many cases per day in Ontario, across Canada. So if a young person sitting in front of the TV and watching this every day, it tends to be their sole focus. And so when that happens, it really becomes a detriment, really, to them, and it really tends to heighten the existing anxiety that's already there, amongst other issues.
There was a great article in Owl Magazine's online edition. It was a conversation with a crisis responder. I think I'm going to be putting out a link to that in a moment. But right now, these are the most asked questions. That's what one of the things this article talks about. The most asked questions that kids are asking crisis responders. So I sort of want to look at some of them and see, well, what kind of answers can we give our kids? So how do I practice social distancing? The kids are asking this. There's a lot of information available, but they still feel the need to ask it.
Absolutely. And for them, depending on their age, social distancing can mean many different things for a young person. As it is, young people are struggling right now because of they're missing their friends at school. So for them, social distancing is really, really difficult. And they're really challenged by that. So they don't really know what that means.
So what do you tell them then? How do you practice social distancing?
Well, we practice social distancing by being mindful. I mean, just by knowing that you can still go outside, you can still play in areas that are safe, like a backyard, or you can play with other family members, your brothers and sisters, but you can't necessarily play at parks or where you might come in contact with other people whom you might typically play with, other kids in the neighborhood, but because of what's going on, we can't necessarily practice that. So we can still have fun, but it's just going to look a little bit different.
Some of the other questions too, and these are the most asked questions from this article. Why are events being canceled? How can I prevent getting infected? Should I wear a mask? But there's questions like, is it safe to go out in public? How do I know if I have just a cold or COVID-19? And these are really important questions.
They are important questions. And, if you have young people in your home, I think it's really important to have those discussions with them. And because of all of the information that's being put out there in the media, I think it's really it's really heightened a lot of fear for young people who don't necessarily understand what's happening. So for somebody who's now worried that they have the sniffles or they have a cough or they may have a sore throat, we also have to look at things. There are ways that we can ask questions. We can talk to our doctor. We can talk to a pharmacist. We can phone people who know and can guide us in the right direction. But the worst thing that you can do is to make assumptions that suddenly, just because you have the sniffles or you have a cough, that you have COVID-19. And I think that if you're practicing isolation and social distancing, most people are going to stay pretty safe.
And Diana brings up a good point. We just put her comment up on the screen while you were talking. That is, a lot of adults have these same questions.
Mm-hmm. They do, absolutely. And I think that is not only in Canada, but I think worldwide, people have a lot of questions about it, and I think there's a lot of curiosity. And I think we just have to keep asking questions to the right people.
Okay. There is a possibility as well, Jason, that our kids could be contacting Kids Help Phone, and we may not even realize it. We may not even know it. So one of the things we want to do is really try and let parents know how they find out if their kid might actually be in crisis. Are we just not listening? Is this what's happening? Are they afraid to talk to us?
It's possible, absolutely. Kids process, especially young kids, process information differently, and they process traumatic information differently as well. So we have to really pay attention to how they're behaving, pay attention to some of the questions they may be asking. And I think allow them to be curious, allow them to ask those questions, allow them to engage in that conversation and not try to steer them away from it. They're asking questions and being curious for a reason because they want to know.
And to really, really illustrate this point, Kids Help Phone has produced a video. It's essentially called SOS. And are you hearing the SOS? It could be happening right in front of you. So let's take a look at that video. So we say it's not always obvious when a young person is in distress. Don't let their cries for help go unheard. And that's it, right? We as parents sometimes think we do know what's best, but we need to hear. We need to hear a different way, listen a different way. Can you hear me, Jason? All right.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So we have to listen a different way. It's not as easy as just going to our kid and say, "Hey, are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling anxious?" Because I don't think they're going to tell us.
No, they're not gonna necessarily tell us. I think if they're a bit older, they might not. But if they're younger, they're not really going to comprehend what's really happening or how to even verbalize what they're feeling. So oftentimes we encourage people to pay attention to their kids' behaviors. Behaviors really speak volumes for words that can't necessarily come out, or they don't know how to explain them to their parents. And so we have to just be mindful and to pay attention to what's going on around them.
Yeah, I've got to tell you though that I was in getting ready for this interview. Your website is much more a wealth of information than. I'm just going to click it up here. Hold on. There it is. Your website. I cannot believe the amount of information that is on this site.
We have a lot of information, and it's really designed for people to be able to access proactively, independently, confidentially. A lot of kids will go on there. So instead of reaching out to us, we can indirectly support them by providing that information on the website.
I encourage parents, I encourage kids to go to this site. Even if you don't feel you're in crisis or something, this has some incredible resources. And like we've talked before, some resources even adults can use. For instance, let's talk about Stress Busters. And I will put a link to that. You have 12 Stress Busters that can be used right now.
Yes. Yes, we have instant activities that kids can do, whether they're feeling anxious, stressed. It really gives them that empowerment to be able to take charge of what they're feeling.
Things like just spending time in nature, having a bath, or just talking it out. And these things may bring some, at least a pause, which is what we talk about a lot on this show. And that's a pause. That is that breath.
Absolutely. And focusing on the present. I find that even as adults, we have a hard time focusing on the present. We're always looking at the past and what might happen in the future. But it's very, very hard to, ironically, focus on what's happening right now. And that's what we encourage is when we invite people to reach out to us, is we encourage people to focus on what's happening for them right now. So what are they feeling right now? What happened before they reached out to make that phone call? What are they feeling? What are they thinking? And we can help them through that.
All right, so coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about worry rockets. We're going to talk about a self checklist, a self help checklist, and have some more great advice. But right now, I want to do a quick couple of words here. First of all, let's start with our biz bump for today. If you're a scrapbooker, my bet is you are making the most out of isolation. It just so happens this Saturday is National Scrapbooking Day. Paper Crafters Workshop is a family-run business that provides everything you need, from die cuts to drops to pocket cards. I have no idea what those are, but you can find them here. They offer online shopping, shipping, and curbside pickup. Get inspired and get crafting. CraftersWorkshop.ca or Facebook Crafters Workshop.
My name is Willow. When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut and go to all the planets. Jupiter, Mercury, Venus. I like to see Mars. Earth is my favorite. I built a spaceship to travel to the future. I learned if we stay inside, everything is going to be okay. Please stay home if you can. Try your best. Stay healthy and be kind to each other.
We are back right now with Jason Carey. He is the counseling manager for Kids Help Phone that has seen an exponential increase in the calls for service, the number of kids that are confused and scared, and also joined by someone else from the sounds of it too. Jason, who is that meowing in the background?
Oh, it's one of my cats that feels the need to make his voice heard when you least want it to be heard.
People who have pets are lucky during isolation because they're calming.
They are. They're very calming, and the majority of people I work with, we all have pets.
Yeah,
it's very therapeutic. So there's a lot of people that have cats and dogs, and they like to make their presence known. So that's okay.
Okay, I found something really interesting on this site, and it seems like a disservice to only try and say that these are just for kids. These are for anybody, and I think this is such a great exercise, and it's something called worry rockets. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that.
The worry rocket, yeah, I've played with it a couple times myself, and it's a really great way for young kids to go on there and to be able to write down a lot of their anxieties, things that are bugging them or poking at them, and they can roll them up and put them in the rocket, and it gets lit and blasts off, and it's just basically a really cool way to get rid of your worries.
And it's not that they are just magically disappearing, but you have, and we've learned this time after time with different experts on the show, that you have taken a stress, an anxiety, a fear, and you've given it a name, and you have faced it. You have looked at it, and that's what the exercise is. It's not going to magically make all your problems go away, but the exercise is to make you face them and look at them and realize, hey, you know what? I don't know if I can control that.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay. That is okay, because even as adults, we have things that bug us, that makes us anxious, that make us worry and stressed out. But we can't control everything in our environment, in our home, in the world. So we have to do what we can. And that's why it's so important to really focus in on the present. Because with the present, it's a lot easier to control that. You can't control what's happened in the past, and you can't control what's happening in the future because it hasn't happened.
The next really valuable resource, and this is something you can share with your kids too. It's great dinner conversation. There's next one is called a self-care checklist.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I personally haven't visited that one.
Yeah.
But the self-care checklist is, I think everybody should be doing that as well. And just it's going to be different for everybody.
You can, yeah,
Things that are
you can add your own things to this.
absolutely, it could be just hanging out with your cat or your dog, or
Yeah.
reading a book, or playing a video game, or listening to music. It's whatever is going to work for you.
Do you have any secrets or any tips on maybe a way to start a conversation with your kids about their feelings, about what they're thinking about COVID?
I think I think just being really honest with them, being transparent, and just ask questions about, so what, when you watch this, because I can guarantee that pretty much every young person has seen some news clip on the TV or computer about COVID at some point because it's on so frequently. Ask them what they think about it, and just sort of allow them to express whatever they need to express using whatever terms that they need to use, and really just start to use that point as a foundation of further discussions around that.
Hey, I have an idea of a conversation starter, and I bet you didn't even think of this, and I bet you the good people at Boston Pizza didn't think of it either. You have a very good corporate partner in Boston Pizza, and they started, I think, yesterday, April 29th, to offer these heart-shaped pizzas with a smile on them, with $1 from each sale going to Kids Help Phone. That's great. And it's now Boston Pizza's donated about $4 million to Kids Help Phone since they've
Yeah,
started this.
they are an incredible organization. They also spoil us really well on
You're
Valentine's
lucky.
Day for the counselors that are working on Valentine's Day. So they are amazing people, and they are diehard supporters of our service.
And so here is my idea, Jason. This is a perfect conversation starter because you order it, and then you say to your kid, "Hey, do you know what this is? You know why it's a heart shape? It's a special pizza for, and they're donating to Kids Help Phone. Do you know anything about Kids Help Phone? Do you think you would?"
Yeah.
And you can open a conversation that way.
Absolutely, and it's a great way. Like you said, it's a great way to start that conversation. It's and I bet that a lot of kids that would be able to tell us what we do.
Yeah. The out of those questions as well, the thing is that there is so much. We know kids are on social media, and at a younger and younger age, there is so much false and fake information out there, and scare tactics and scams. It is so tough to know what our kids are really seeing on their social media. So, if nothing else, we should at least be somewhat social media savvy for our kids.
We should, and you're right. It's unfortunate that there are people out there that take this opportunity to prey on people, and that's very unfortunate. But Kids Help Phone has a lot of social media presence, both on Twitter as well as Facebook. I believe we have an Instagram, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not huge tech savvy or social media savvy, but I do know that we have a very strong presence in social media.
All right, we have as well, and I think we have a graphic on this one. The super on the right, Parker, for text wellness. That was one, yeah. So this is a new service. This is unbelievable, Jason, that you're offering this service, because you're called Kids Help Phone. What is this one that says text wellness to 741-741?
So this is a relatively new service to our already existing crisis text line. So we have a crisis text line designed for young people across Canada. And so they would text talk to 686868. Since the pandemic and the isolation, we have expanded our texting services to include services to individuals who are above the age mandate of 29 that typically Kids Help Phone serves. And so the Wellness 741 is the texting service for adults as well as frontline workers, because frontline workers are working so hard. They're doing 100 hours a week and then some, risking their lives, their safety. They're away from their families, and they're doing what they need to do so that the rest of us can be safe. And so we opened a service so that we can be an additional service to them, so we can help the helpers.
And how has it been received?
It's been, as far as I know, it's been received very, very well. Our texting services in general, since COVID-19, the demand for our texting service is up by 63%. And our professional counseling service, the demand has gone up 55%.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's find out how people can actually participate with Kids Help Phone. So let's say that you have taken all this into account, and right now you feel your kids are good, or you're going to use some of this advice, but you want to help other kids. And it's easy to do that. The first way is financially. So let's talk about donations to Kids Help Phone. We'll put a link on that as well.
Yeah,
you depend on this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And people can donate one time. They can donate monthly. They can donate annually. Whatever the amount, it is amazing. It is fantastic. Because of that, we're able to exist, and the donations are just fantastic.
All right. Now, you can also volunteer, and you are absolutely always in need of crisis responders, but other volunteers as well.
Yes. Certainly we have volunteers that do many, many different things within the organization. We have volunteers that really help us a lot during our walk so kids can talk, which is actually coming up soon. And it's the first time we're doing our walk virtually, which is going to be really different. Yeah. So we're practicing social distancing, and we're doing the walk virtually. I don't know the whole ins and outs of it all, but I do know that there's been a lot of work and a lot of effort put into making it happen. And the support behind it has been incredible.
Fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. So I encourage people to support Kids Help Phone. If you're a parent, just visit the website. The resources are invaluable. It's amazing. There's a number of things that you can find there. Plus, I've already put links on them: the checklist, the instant stress busters, as well as the Q&A articles with a real life counselor for a Kids Help Phone. So, thank you so much for this and for everything that your responders do. And there's the website, kidshelpphone.ca, on the list. So a big shout out to the sponsors and a tip of the hat to the responders and all the volunteers with Kids Help Phone, Jason.
Thanks very much, Kevin. And it's been a pleasure to be on your show. And our organization is it's incredible how we've been able to be there and support everybody.
All right. Thank you very much, Jason. Jason Carey talking to me. He's the counseling manager for Kids Help Phone. And it really did blow my mind when I went through that website today. There's some really neat stuff in there. I love those worry rockets. Try it yourself. Parker, could we put the worry rockets up one more time? The link to that. So we're gonna put the link to it on the message board as well. Where is it? Oh, I didn't put it down there. Okay, you know what? Go to the website. It is there. It's not that hard to find. We'll post it later. We'll definitely post it later. So some questions that you might have. So don't assume your kids are fine. Don't assume that they're resilient enough and they'll get through this. There are some experts warning that, PTSD is a possibility. Now, it's not a huge possibility, okay? So I'm not gonna throw any scare tactics at you, but there's a chance. But there are chances too of other adjustments or maladjustments. And as Jason had said to us, there are people who do live with different depressions and anxieties pre-existing. And this is only going to complicate things and make things worse. So the Kids Help Phone is there. It's great it's there. It's kind of, I would rather maybe the kids talk to us before they have to reach out to a stranger, but sometimes it's the only choice. Start a conversation with your kid. I don't care how awkward it is. That's your kid. So start a conversation, even if you're kind of awkward about it. That's all right, as long as you're talking and open up that conversation. Tomorrow, by the way, it is First Responders Day tomorrow, and we have some first responder families on and talk about what they go through. And we're also going to talk how we can support the families. And they do need that support. By the way, there is support available for first responders and healthcare workers. You see the websites going by your screen right now. Shall we hear from Willow one more time? Let's hear from Willow one more time. People want to hear from Willow one more time.
My name is Willow. When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut and go to all the planets. Jupiter, Mercury, Venus. I like to see Mars. Mars. Earth is my favorite. I built a spaceship to travel to the future. I learned if we stand aside, everything is going to be okay. Please stay home if you can. Try your best. Stay healthy and be kind to each other.
If you are a scrapbooker, my bet is you are making the most out of isolation. It just so happens Saturday is National Scrapbooking Day. Paper Crafters Workshop is a family-run business that provides everything you need from die cuts to drops to pocket cards, whatever those things are. You can find them all here. They offer online shopping, shipping, and curbside pickup. Get inspired and get crafting craftersworkshop.ca and on Facebook, Crafters Workshop Stouffville. So that is it for us tonight, First Responders Day tomorrow. We want to thank them for everything that they do, and we want to help their families and support their families. So we're going to do that tomorrow. So as always, my friends and my family, take care of yourself and take care of each other.
COVID-19, why you do this to me? I really don't like being stuck in quarantine. I have no toilet paper, I don't even have a snack.